This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on.
4-3 with Coyle Leary here on this Wednesday, January 22nd. Coyle here with you. Todd Leary running mate in the backcourt, and Jake's keeping everything on the track for us today. Man, we have got a big one, Todd. We have got a loaded show. There's all kinds of stuff to get to. Bob Kravitz is on the show, one of your favorites.
I do love Bobby. Bobby's the guy that writes what's on his mind.
There you go. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com, of course, is going to join us. Man, there are so many offers that have gone out the last couple of days, football-wise. They have been flying off the shelf. We'll talk to that with Matt. But all kinds of basketball, actually, Indiana in action tomorrow night, Michigan State. We'll talk about that. You're going to hear from Tom Izzo, Xavier Tillman, all kinds of stuff to get. And the WW out last night in Lawrence, Kansas, man. There's big news down at Evansville. They have replaced Walter McCarty. He was fired, and now they have hired Todd Licklider. We'll talk about that, the former Butler, Iowa coach. Todd, there is all kinds of stuff going on, man.
Boy, I tell you what, we usually only get this excited on game days, but it's one of those. It's one of those days. There's so many different news stories.
Audio. I don't know if you can hear him, Jake. I can't hear anybody all of a sudden now. Then.
Well,
there we go. Now we're back.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah, it was on mine.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, you're right. There's just all kinds of crazy stories. Not even just crazy, just interesting stuff going on, and all of it just kind of taking a back seat to that crazy stuff in Kansas last night.
Yeah, it's kind of we can't ignore that. I mean, we can laugh about it because it's kind of funny for a second, but
we're going to make fun of it. But
it's really not. It's a bad deal. So many things, so many facets. You got players that are going to be suspended, some deeply. You've got fan involvement where they were right in the middle of the fans. This is like the deal with the Pacers back in the Palace. Way back in those days. This is a bad deal, with the exception of this did not involve the fans in that way. But it's just a horrible situation, and this is going to wreck Kansas this season because there's no way Silvio De Sousa is not getting hammered on this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. I don't see a possibility of at least two of those Kansas players being suspended for the year and probably having played their last games in a Kansas uniform.
Which is kind of funny.
You can't overlook it.
Yeah, and all the stuff they've been through, Todd. I mean, they've been thumbing their nose at the NCAA, throwing them the double bird, Bill Self wearing the big gold chain and the Adidas shirt and all that. And it's kind of funny. But they caught up with Bill Self last night after the game. And I think we've got that sound, Jake, if we're ready to go with that. Here's Bill Self after last night's fracas in Lawrence, Kansas.
Studio looking at a guy out here hollering my name when last year I spent more money on spilt liquor in bars from one side of this world to the other than you made. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
Oh, there's Bill Self after last night's game in Kansas. I think they may have caught up with Bruce Weber as well, the coach of Kansas State, as these two rivals were playing. Man, what did Bruce Weber have to say?
Talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah. Macho madness, yes.
There's Bruce Weber taking the high road after last night's game. So,
you guys are idiots.
Well, there's no doubt about that.
WWE idiots.
Well, you can leave the WWE part off and just leave the idiots. That's
Yeah.
very appropriate. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot coming from this. And this is going to affect college basketball because Kansas is a team that a lot of people, I mean, especially in a year like this, yeah, they're got to be one of the favorites to have won it all. But that is going to change because they're going to lose a ton of games now, I bet, because of this.
Yeah, I mean, here's where – we get to criticize and we get to sit here and second guess some decisions that the NCAA makes. And believe me, they put themselves in a tough position a lot of times. But right now, they really don't have a choice. I don't see any way that they have a choice in this, because if they condone this and have a 2-game suspension or 3-game suspension or even 5-game suspension, it'll cause melee all across basketball. Kids will realize there's really not that big a ramification about it. They've got to suspend. I mean, they've got to just disqualify those 2 players for the rest of the season. I mean, and that's just what I saw on that part of the video that was on ESPN. I mean, there isn't any way. I mean, I don't know how they don't suspend Bill Self for a part of it. I mean, he's responsible for what his players do out on the court, and this is a bad one. This is a bad deal.
Dr. J from Reynolds Family Dentistry text in, Bill Self can't hold a candle to Ric Flair. Way to insult the nature boy.
Yeah, I think you got the reference, though. I mean, basically, you said it earlier, thumbed his nose to the NCAA and thinks they're above the rules. And, I mean, some of the cheating stuff they've had going on is just, I mean, it's so blatant. It's embarrassing.
It's abrasive.
It's embarrassing.
Let's see. So Tebow Texan said, so what? Well, I'm going to skip that one right now. So the media had to bring up Knight's chair throwing incident after last night's most chair throwing incident. He didn't throw the chair last night, though. This was not this wasn't even as good as the one on Geraldo.
Yeah, I mean, if that kid had just been mad and picked up a chair and slid it across the floor, that would be a different scenario. I don't think he picked it up as a weapon trying to hit somebody with it. There's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, they also, and he points out, and I remember reading this, they had to bring the teams back onto the floor and put 1 second on the clock and shoot free throws because of that stuff. In a game that was there's
right.
no impact on it. It
right.
was like a 20-point spread, but they still had to do that. And I understand, but I would think in that situation that would have just said, the game's done. But yeah, can you imagine having to go back onto the floor with those guys? I mean, it's just nuts. That's just a bad situation.
None of it. First of all, there's no place for it in basketball. I mean, that's got to be – fans have got to feel safe coming to a game. Players have got to be safe being on a court. No matter what happens on the court, no matter what the situation is, it can't get to that point. It can't get to that. That's why in the NBA and some of those scenarios that have happened in there, it can't get to that point. It just it's not a it should never be a situation that gets bad enough that that fans have to feel threatened or players have to feel threatened or anything like that. It's unexcusable.
I agree with you. Action in the Big Ten last night, Todd. Some games we were talking about.
And boy, how about the Illini? I don't want to claim as my Illini because I'm not an Illini fan, but I've thought that they were a lot better than some people were giving them credit for this year. Man, they go into West Lafayette last night. They pounded Purdue. They win 79-62, and they just didn't have a lot of trouble with them.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, Illinois put themselves, pretty solidly last night in the top tier, which will be that top 3 or 4 in the Big Ten. I mean,
I think they're tied for first.
Yeah, I think they're still a win back, but they've got two great road wins. I mean, they've got something nobody else has, and they've got a win at Wisconsin. They got a win at Purdue. That's 2 big wins, and that sets them aside a little bit from from a lot of the other teams in the Big Ten. I don't know that. I mean, they set themselves aside. They're 6-2 right now. Michigan State's 6-1. Hopefully they will be tied for the lead after Thursday night. Hopefully Michigan State will be 6-2 after Thursday night. But Illinois definitely separated themselves from the pack last night.
Kofi Coburn, man, he's
oh my gosh,
he's a beast.
He's a monster. He is. The Green Mile is legit.
Yes. Oh, that's another great point, Jake. In that Illinois game, I forget what the Illinois player, I'd have to look that up, but
Some Griffin.
This little Amano Timberlake action from back in the Duke, Kentucky days when Christian Laettner stepped on Amano Timberlake. He gave him a foot under the basket. Told his coach he lost his balance.
Yeah, Alan Griffin was his name, I believe, and that's one of those things as a player. Like he'll look back on, he knows he didn't lose his balance. He knows what he did and all that. It's just stupid. Like that's just something. If you heard the halftime interview with Illinois' coach, I mean, he was just Underwood. I think that's his name, Underwood, isn't it?
Yeah, Brad Underwood.
Brad Underwood. I mean, he handled it perfectly. He's like, hey, that's not what we're all about, and I haven't seen it on the video. I really didn't see it. And he said, Griffin said he lost his balance, but he said, I haven't seen it. They wouldn't have kicked him out if they thought that was the case. And he just handled it perfectly. And, he looked like a guy that he'll take care of it. And that's different, though. I mean, that's a bad decision. That's like the Christian Laettner thing from years ago. When Christian Laettner, I think he stepped on somebody and it was obvious it was intentional. The officials in that game didn't have the guts to kick Christian Laettner out of the game. The officials last night didn't hesitate one bit. I mean, he was gone. They went and looked at it on video to make sure it wasn't somewhat accidental, and they saw it wasn't, and they booted him straight from the game. And I thought the officials handled that perfectly last night.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that. A couple other games in the Big Ten. Wisconsin, Whiskies they're still rolling Tide. They win 82-68 over Nebraska. Not a big win, but, man, they're piling up the wins right now. Of course, their schedule's probably going to get a little rougher.
Yeah, I mean, that's a game they have to win. I mean, just to stay relevant, they have to win that game. I mean, they're 12-7 overall on the year. They've got some toughies coming up. They play in the next 5 days. They play at Purdue and at Iowa, and they're going to be playing a Purdue team that really, really needs a win on Friday night. So, that's going to be a difficult one for Wisconsin to get. They've got a tough part of their schedule coming up. I mean, they've got at Purdue, at Iowa, and then Michigan State at home. So I think they'll move down towards the bottom part of the Big Ten here in the next 10 days.
Maryland got a gift win. They traveled to Northwestern 77-66, so not much there for Maryland.
Man, Northwestern blew it. Northwestern had an 18-point lead in that game.
What?
Yeah, Northwestern. In the first half, Northwestern had an 18-point lead and led by 14 at halftime. And they came out in the second half, and they just couldn't score at all. And Maryland went on a little run, and once that happened, it was over.
Yep. And for Northwestern, you're not going to get many opportunities like that.
No. Yeah, they had them. Maryland, I've been saying this. Maryland struggles to score. I mean, they're not a great scoring team. And when they don't shoot the ball well, you can get them down. And Northwestern, it's a lot like the way they were with Indiana. They had Indiana 10 down with 8 minutes to go. And they just can't hang. They couldn't hang on to it. I mean, they don't have the muscle to, when teams try to go at them and pound them, they can't stop them. And that's what happened last night. I mean, the big kid from Maryland, I can't remember what his name is, the big guy with goggles.
Yeah.
And he had a career high night last night. He had 25 points and like 15 rebounds or something. And once he gets going on the inside, they don't have anybody to stop him. Yeah, Jalen Smith. That's right.
There you go. Hey, we got so much coming up today. One of your favorites, Bob Kravitz, is up next here on Indiana Sports Beat. Matt Weaver's on today as well. We got plenty more to talk about. Indiana prepping for Michigan State tomorrow night. We got Dane Fife on tomorrow, by the way. Don't forget. But we got plenty more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Up next, Bob Kravitz. We'll be back with more Coyle and Leary right after this.
But I somehow, some way, keep coming up with funky like every single day.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you on this Hump Day, January 22nd. Couldn't be happier to welcome in now one of Todd's favorites. Great nickname, I think it just came up for you, Bob. The Gambler, Bob Kravitz.
The Gambler, yeah. I bet $100 and lost it all, and I'll never do it again.
You know him. He's worked for several publications of note, including the Indianapolis Star, now with the Athletic. How's that going, by the way, Bob? That's just been a growing organization.
It's been unbelievable. They have over 600,000 subscribers. They expect to be over 1 million by the end of this calendar year. We just got a ton of money in investment capital. So this thing's an absolute rocket ship, and it shows that people want quality in their sports reporting.
Absolutely, and we've seen that taking such a hit with the newspapers and all. I mean, no one knows that better than you. You've been through this war that's been going on for a decade now. The papers downsizing, and just we've seen it here in Bloomington and all that, and but it's great that these new avenues are opening up. And does it actually give you a little more creative room?
It does, and what it does is it makes me think deeper about stories, because they don't want 800-word columns like I used to write about, 3, 4, 5 columns a week for the Star and for the TV station. And those were 800 to 900 words. What I'm writing now is like maybe I'll write just once or twice a week as opposed to 3 or 4, but they're 3,000-word pieces. They're more deep dives into subjects, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's some great reads. And your most recent one on the state of gambling here in Indiana with the newness of all that, a great read. And it's something that is really very timely.
Yeah, well, with the Super Bowl, yeah, absolutely. I went up there with this guy who is let's call him an enthusiastic gambler. I went up to the college football playoff semifinals. And it was, we couldn't find a seat in the sports book. It was absolutely jam-packed. It was a great atmosphere. And, if you don't mind losing your money, I would strongly suggest to anybody who's a sports fan to go on up there to Anderson.
What's it make it so fun? Is it like a nightclub environment? How are they? What's changed in today's gambling world?
Well, I don't know what has changed. I've only been to one sports book in my life. That was at Caesars. So I've kind of skied the Alps when it comes to gambling. But it's not big, but it's just very cool. You got your betting window there. I guess for me it was cool because I'd never really spent any significant amount of time at a sports book. I'm pretty new to this gambling thing. So I found it fascinating, and just the business of it and how deep guys go to make money. And there's so many facets to the gambling industry. And now you've got leagues who are proposing, they want the government to force all these states to give back 1% of the handle as an integrity tax, which is really hysterical on the heels of the Houston Astros. So, integrity, not so much.
Hey, Bob, it's Todd here. Hey,
yes, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man.
Good. Hey, it was funny to me that the timing of you writing this article right after I couldn't believe how much notoriety they made last week on all the national TV shows, ESPN and the Fox sports shows and all that, about the Mattress Mac guy who's, I guess, known as a big Houston Astros gambler, and he was betting $1 million on the Tennessee Titans to beat Kansas City last weekend. And, that was something years ago that would have been taboo. You would never discuss and never talk about. And now that it's moved outside of just Las Vegas, now it's national news when a guy like that makes a big bet. It's incredible, the change in the times.
Well, it's been incredibly normalized. Now, when I was a kid, CBS had their pregame football show with Brent Musburger and Jimmy the Greek. Jimmy the Greek, of course, was a professional gambler. He set lines.
I forgot all about Jimmy the Greek.
Oh, man.
So, what's that?
I had forgotten all about Jimmy the Greek. That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Jimmy the Greek. I'm sorry, the phone went out for a second. But yeah, Jimmy the Greek, and but after that, the league wanted to keep gambling at a distance. And now that they realize that this is going to happen, whether they like it or not, they not only are putting it on the broadcast, but they want money. They want to make some money out of this thing. So they have fallen for it hook, line, and sinker. And it's been normalized. It's been normalized in the same sense that marijuana is quasi-legal in this country. So it's, even though it's not legal in most states still, it's a sort of an accepted normal thing. So that's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah, and it's funny, though, that's a great analogy, as a matter of fact, Bob, with the marijuana, because it has become such a prevalent thing in our society, so many states legalizing it and whatnot. But the funny thing is, when you talk about Indiana, the first thing everybody says is, Indiana's going to be the last state that legalizes marijuana, which surprised me that they legalized gambling as early as they did. I was a little surprised by that.
Hell, man, I was surprised we went into the daylight savings time and liquor on Sunday. We are quite a progressive little state, aren't we? No, I do think with marijuana legalization, we'll go kicking and screaming into it and maybe be the 50th state. That said, when politicians realize that they can get a lot done with the money that they can make off of gambling or weed or whatever it might be, all of a sudden their tune changes. And I really believe that when this next generation of politicians comes along in the next, 10 years or so, I really believe that it will be legalized not only here, but throughout the rest of the country.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. When it comes to the gambling in the state of Indiana, I know a lot of fears, people, because it is such a traditional conservative state. College basketball is such a thing here, so important. High school basketball, for that matter. But I know there was a lot of fears by some people that gambling is going to somehow infiltrate these things and all that. And none of that has happened to my knowledge.
Early. It's early, man. I worry about it. I worry about it a lot at the college level because, as Todd knows, of course, Todd drove around a nice new caddy, but, on campus. But, these kids aren't making any money, or at least they're not supposed to be yet. And, what's to stop a kid from shaving points when his team is 11 and 18, and there's many, many thousands of dollars on the table? I don't see it becoming a problem in the NBA, although, with Donaghy, it obviously was. But I think that was a rogue deal, kind of a one-off. But I could see it becoming a real issue at the college level. So I look, it's a double-edged sword with gambling. You're taking chances, but you're making a hell of a lot of money.
Absolutely. What was the most shocking thing, or was there anything shocking that came out of this during your research?
Well, because I went into this knowing almost nothing, everything shocked me, to be honest. But the amount of money that is bet in this one guy who I describe as an enthusiastic gambler, his not real name is Joe. He will spend, first of all, he spends a lot of money. I mean, like $5,000-$10,000 a week on games. But most of it is still illegally bet. I didn't realize, I figured the offshore places would probably go out of business.
Why is that? Why are they still thriving?
Legalize gambling, but no.
Yeah, why are they still thriving?
They're still thriving because you can do things offshore that you cannot do in the regular gambling areas. You can bet more. They don't put any limits on you. And the big thing is that if you're dealing in Bitcoin, which is kind of the coin of the realm in offshore, there are tax considerations that you may not have to deal with on your winnings if nobody knows where the hell you got the money.
There's always that. That's above my pay grade.
Boy, there's always an angle to something in there. You would have thought. I just assumed now that it was legal in Indiana, like everybody just betted in Indiana. But I guess I never thought about that side of it.
You can bet a lot more money, and like I say, that there are. If you're a gambler, you don't want Uncle Sam to know you made $20,000 off of Marquette last night, and so there are ways of doing it so that you're not looking at a 1099 form at the end of the year.
Sounds like the same old. Life hasn't changed much, has it?
Not really. And look, bookies have not been put out of business just yet. I don't know if they ever will. So there's always going to be a black market. I would assume that the black market will diminish over time. But right now, it's still thriving. The guy that I gambled with, or who I watched gamble mostly, what did he tell me? He made about $10,000-$20,000 betting legally. He made over $100,000 betting illegally.
Wow. That's that, which is probably what $135,000 when you add the taxes into what that would have been.
Right. Exactly right.
Crazy. Great piece, Bob. What's now? You say you're writing like 2 a week. What's coming up next for you?
I got some pretty cool stuff. It should be posted now. I may post later. I did a piece on Barry Collier. we're all talking about Laval Jordan and all that stuff, but Barry Collier's Midas touch when it comes to hiring coaches, it's really pretty incredible. I mean, Brad Stevens, Brandon Miller didn't work out, obviously, for reasons beyond anybody's control. But then, Chris Holtman, he kind of lucked into, but at the same time he didn't. Was smart enough to make him the full-time coach. And now Laval, he's got a real sense of what a good coach, young coach looks like. So I got that. And Saturday, two things. Saturday I'm going to Indiana State, and I'm doing an all-access piece on Indiana State's game against Bradley. So I'll be on the bench in the locker room. Wherever they are, I'll be. And I'm also doing one thing on the Big Ten. The home court advantage this year is unbelievable. I mean, the record, last I checked, was like 135-20 home court advantage.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And within the Big Ten, it's equally one side, like 49-6 or something like that. So this is kind of why the Big Ten has become such a home court league. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact there are really no soft touches left in this league.
Yeah, there's that. You mentioned the Butler connection there. Todd Licklider, of course, being named now as head coach in Evansville to replace Walter McCarty. So another big connection there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he was not hired by Barry. He was hired by the previous administration, if my timeline is correct. But, Barry, being a former head coach himself, he has a real good sense of what qualities are required to be a good college basketball coach. And the thing, too, is that he's had a lot of success with his coaching hires in other sports. So he just kind of gets it. He knows what he's looking for, and he gets it done. He gets it done without much fanfare.
Well, I talk about Butler all the time. Xavier in a similar light, but Butler, they have just made home run higher after home run higher after home run higher. And not many teams, as a matter of fact, rarely does that happen. And Xavier has done a great job if you look at their coaching succession, but Butler has just done an amazing, phenomenal job.
Yeah, hey, Bob, I'm excited to read that article about Barry Collier because I think that's a story that that's really gone under talked about and not.
I agree.
People. He could travel around the country and give seminars to ADs and potential ADs at colleges about what to look for. And you're right. It's not just basketball. You look at what level he's brought that entire athletic program up to. And I'm interested to read it because if he did a TED Talk, I mean, I'd be the first guy there to listen because he's a person that you really think is on the forefront of how to hire a really good coach. And I'm excited to read your piece on that.
Well, thanks. It's funny you said that because I asked him, I said, have people reached out to you to ask you how to hire coaches, how to be a headhunter, HR type person? He said yes. He says, I don't really want to talk about that. But he's just being, he just doesn't want to not gloat, but doesn't want to brag on himself.
Sure.
But
yeah. He's as humble a person as you can get.
He has spoken to people about how to go about this process, and he knows what he's doing.
Well, he certainly has done a damn good job of it.
Yep,
I mean,
no doubt.
I don't know if there's anyone in the country that has done a better job in succession than they have. It's amazing.
Really is.
Well, Bob, I can't thank you enough, man. We appreciate you so much as always, and make sure the folks catch Bob at the Athletic. He's tearing it up there, and we always appreciate you having on.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Bob.
There's Bob Kravitz, senior writer at The Athletic. Got some great pieces there with on gambling in the state of Indiana and one about Barry Collier coming out. So we're looking forward to that, man. Always a great conversation, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, he has written that's a factor of all the great stuff he's done over the years, and he gets access to probably some stories and situations you wouldn't get to, like the Indiana State All Access thing he's going to write this weekend, and that Barry Collier situation. He's good at recognizing those stories that people maybe they don't even know they want to know about, but as soon as they read it, they're like, man, that was an interesting article. And he always comes up with something that when you read his articles, he's always got something in there. Even if you think you know the topic that he's talking about, you still are like, man, I did not realize that. And that's just what makes everything he does such a great read.
We've got Tom Izzo and Xavier Tillman from Michigan State coming up. We're going to talk about the Hoosiers as they prepare for the Sparty tomorrow night. Stay tuned. You got lots more on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back right after this.
I'm gonna cry.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former IU basketball player Derek Elson. Follow the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Coach, you've got a big week coming up. You've got Michigan State on Thursday. You got Maryland, a team that beat you earlier this season, on Sunday. These are two huge ball games coming up.
They are. And, I think one thing I've learned in this league is you can't get 2 feet in front of your face. The more you start to look down the road and start to listen to noise of what you have ahead, you sort of just get away from the thing that's the most important, which was, did we do what we need to do today, be ready for tomorrow? And that's what we did. But this league, as it heads into February, I mean, you're talking about heavyweight matchups, teams that are playing for a lot, teams that can, quite frankly, make runs in the tournament deep on any given night. And competition level and the pressure of these games now, you're starting to see, like, this is the highest level that you're going to get in college.
There's Indiana Archie Miller talking about Indiana's next 2 games coming up, both toughies, but they're going to be at home, fortunately, Todd.
Yeah, they are. And they are, I think one of the things he's alluding to there is the implications of these 2 games when it comes down to, whether it's making the tournament or seeding in the tournament or whatever the case may be. These 2 games will look back on, I think, as kind of the turning point one way or another. And, Indiana's probably – they could lose both of these games and still make the NCAA tournament. I don't think they're make or break when it comes to that. But I really think they put you in, in different directions. Your season goes in different directions based on the outcome of these 2 games.
Absolutely, because you talked about it exactly. You lose these 2 games, it's going to affect your seeding.
Sure.
And if people don't understand the drastic effects of seeding, they're especially in a season like this where everybody's good, well, then that means that everybody that's better is better. It's everything. There's such a fine line this season.
Yeah, Monday you made a great point about if Indiana is other than going on a big time run and winning consecutive road games, if Indiana is ever going to get ranked this entire season, they have to win both of these ball games this week. And if they do that, they will be ranked. There's no question about it. But if they don't, the way the schedule lays out, where they've got 2 road games every other week throughout the rest of the season, they will not stand a chance at being ranked at any point in time. Now, rankings are for you and me and the fans and all that. I can tell you as a player, we had a lot of time in my 5 years that we were ranked number 1 in the country, and we had the majority of the time we were ranked in the top 25. Never one time was it ever discussed. Not between the coaches, not between the players. Nobody cared. We didn't care. It didn't matter. Like, we weren't playing for a ranking. We were playing for winning the Big Ten tournament or winning the Big Ten regular season and getting a good seed in the tournament. Because one thing you do think about is the seeding matters, and the seeding is a big deal. And that's why, it's great to make the tournament, but the higher your seed, winning those first 2 games, making a Sweet 16 is a big deal to a coach. It's a big deal to a program. Getting to that Elite 8, they talk about that. Yeah, I don't know that very often you talk about, we made the tournament those years. If we didn't make the Sweet 16, it was kind of an unsuccessful year, to be honest with you. And, these guys need to work on that seeding. These 2 games this week, if you win these 2 games, you'd be on a 3-game winning streak. You would have beaten two of the premier teams in the league based on everybody's analysis of it. And that would put you in a position. You still got to finish the year out and play great and win a bunch of tough more games. But this would put them in a position I truly believe if they went on a run, it could put them as high as a 3 or a 4 seed. And I know I'm talking pie in the sky. They've got a lot of work to do to get to there. But if you win these 2 games, that's definitely in play.
A team that is in that position right now is coming to Bloomington tomorrow night, Michigan State. Tom Izzo brings his squad in, leading the Big Ten right now. Let's hear from him and Xavier Tillman, one of their best players.
As far as Indiana goes, big, strong team. They're starting 6'11", 6'10". Smith, who was a power forward last year, is playing the 3 spot. They're rebounding the hell out of the ball. They have 4 players in double figures, so they have good balance. And so we're going to have to do the job in transition. We have to do the job rebounding the ball and defending without fouling.
It's going to be important for us not to get in foul trouble for Cash and myself, for Gabe and Aaron, really to not get in foul trouble because we need those guys. And then their offensive rebound is really good too. So we got to make sure that Gabe cuts out, Marcus cuts out, and I'm cleaning the boards.
Was Tom Izzo and Xavier Tillman from Michigan State basically talking about what Indiana does well, offensive rebounding, interior play, things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear Tom Izzo talk about Indiana has 4 players that average double figures, because in 3 of the 4 losses that Michigan State has, they've only had 1 player scoring double figures. And, that obviously they're a team that needs Cassius Winston to be the motor for them. And that motor sometimes scores the ball a lot. That motor sometimes distributes to other players and gets them involved. And that's one of the huge benefits they have in that Cassius Winston is so good. He tries to get everyone involved, but when they can't, when they're not doing it, he can step in himself and be that guy and be that scorer. And so that's what makes him so valuable for them overall. But, in 3 of those 4 losses, the one loss that they had, which was to Duke, where they had multiple players scoring double figures, that's because they scored so many points. I mean, Duke's not a team that plays great defense. So, there was just a lot of scoring in that game. The other 3 losses that they have are teams played tough defense against them, and they didn't have other players step up. I think, as I say almost every day, one of the big issues Michigan State has, and almost every team across the country seems to be having it, is scoring the basketball. And when you can hold them and have one player, kind of be the dominant player for them, and they don't get a bunch of people involved, that's been the recipe to beat them. Because that's the telling stat. 3 of 4 losses, they only have one player in double figures. Obviously, you can take the other players away and let one guy, just kind of dominate.
The funny thing about Indiana is I don't know that they realize how good they can actually be if they do what they've kind of been doing here of late, but successfully do what they've been trying to do of late. If they do that and keep working at that, because that will improve, they're going to be a upper level Big Ten team if they do that. I don't know, as an 18, 19-year-old kid, how hard that is. I remember being 18, 19, and if you're talking to me about something 3 weeks from now, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
You're going to be good 3 weeks if you do. I'm like, what? I don't want to wait 3 weeks. No. So you take shortcuts and you don't do – that's the thing. It's hard to get immature kids, immature minds to discipline themselves to consistently do the things that's going to pay off 2 months from now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Kids want to see that immediate gratification on something, and it's hard to get kids to go shoot free throws. I'm just saying it's hard to. It wasn't hard to get me to go shoot free throws. It seems hard nowadays to get guys to go work on things that all of a sudden you're not immediately better at, and
it's not pretty,
right? And it's the little things, and when you look at Indiana as a whole, and you look at, I keep saying this every week, but I mean, take Michigan State. Why do we, and why does everyone consider Michigan State, an upper echelon, upper tier team? What makes them that in your mind?
Well, for one thing, you start with Tom Izzo. There's no doubt that is the starting point. And you know that they have great guard play, upper level guard play, which to me, that's about as the most important place you can start on a team, and it goes out from there. Other than that, I mean, they've got some good players like Xavier Tillman and guys, but I just think that they're disciplined and they just have a good basketball IQ, but they're not super talented. They don't have these elite guys that are going to be first team All-Americans, maybe Winston, but generally they're playing team basketball consistently, like you guys used to play, you used to play.
Izzo is going to require that they play hard. They're big, and like Aaron Henry, a kid from Indianapolis who's turned in. I mean, I truly don't think he could have picked a better place to go play for his talents. And he's turned into not just a solid player. He's a really, really good player, but I don't think anyone would describe him as, a top tier scorer. He's a really good player. He's a great athlete. He's a good, he plays hard. He understands the game, all of those things, but I don't think he's a pure scorer. And I think you can go down the line with him. Gabe Brown, they're another one of their wing players. He's kind of emerged as I'd call him their best 3-point shooter. I mean, Cassius Winston is just a gamer. He's going to make that shot that puts the dagger in you, whether it's a 3-pointer, a 17-foot jumper, or a creative shot around the basket. He's going to make it. But I don't think he's an elite shooter. Gabe Brown is kind of turned into that guy for them that they expect to make some shots from the outside for them. Xavier Tillman's an inside player. He has stepped out and made some threes, believe it or not. But going down that whole list of guys, if you compare them and then you start talking about Indiana's players, outside of Cassius Winston, Indiana is just as talented, if not more talented, than every player on Michigan State. And so that's why and I'm not trying to overstate Indiana because I'm a homer. It's just that way. I mean, I wouldn't trade. Xavier Tillman is a great for Michigan State, and he's a veteran player. He knows how to play. He's smart, and he's got some skill. Would you trade Trace Jackson Davis for him? No, probably not. They don't have a Joey Brunk. They don't have a guy on the inside that, just a banger like that. They don't have that kind of player. Justin Smith, no one in the league. Gabe Brown and Justin Smith, you compare those two guys at a 3-man position, not even comparable. Justin Smith is probably the most athletic player for his size in the entire country. And so, I say it week after week, but Indiana on their roster, man for man, is just as talented, if not more talented, than every other team in the league.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. It's not always talent. It's the team. It's whether
how
the
they
team
play together. Yep,
exactly. It's how they decide that they're going to do things, and it's like this team struggled. They fought that for the first 2 months, maybe, and then there was like this gelling or this look where you're like, okay, they're morphing into this, and we've seen that for 2 games in a row. At least the attempt there. So as long as we see that again, I think that just continues to improve. And, man, this is going to be a great litmus test tomorrow night against the Michigan State team.
It is. I tell you, I watched the Purdue-Illinois game last night, and I watched a lot of the coverage on it. And I was watching the teams when they were getting introduced. And for some reason, they just kept the camera on Purdue's whole team quite a bit. And, man, everybody was laughing and having a good time, and they felt great about it. I'm telling you, and I'm saying all those as a positive. I think that's a big factor. The kids looked like they wanted to be there, and they were enjoying playing as a team together. And that's a big deal. I really would have told you going into that game. Purdue lost to Illinois by 20-some points, just a couple of weeks ago at Illinois. And going into this game, I would have watching that at the beginning, I really thought Purdue was going to have a great performance. I really thought Purdue would come out and win that game. They didn't. Illinois is better than I have been giving them credit for. But man, they are going right along with what you're saying. Like, enjoying playing together is kind of the next, understanding what you can expect out of certain guys on every night. Not just on, any given day, what you can expect from them every night and enjoying, having fun, playing together. That's kind of the next piece for this Indiana team. And if they put that together and they're having fun, you can make mistakes and still have fun. I mean, I'm not saying you got to play a flawless, perfect game, but just that camaraderie of playing together and playing as a team, that's the next step, I think, for Indiana.
Well, and the funny thing is, we've talked about, and you've pointed out a lot, this unique schedule, this 2-on, 2-off kind of a thing. I think that for Indiana, though, timing wise, it is working out perfect because I'm glad they're playing Michigan State now, not 2 games ago.
Agreed.
And playing them at home the first time, not on the road, and then having another home game behind that. This is an opportunity here.
And coming off of a win.
To catapult themselves.
Agree. Yeah. I mean, the schedule is goofy. If I were Archie Miller, boy, I would be playing, us against the world and the Big Ten trying to screw us over with the scheduling and all that. Because I'm telling you, no one else has this schedule. No one else has the 2 home, 2 away, 2 home, 2 away. No one else does that in the Big Ten. I don't know why it's set up that way, but I would be playing us against the world if I were Archie Miller, saying they're trying to keep us out of the tournament, and just to have something to build on, because you're right. This game, even though I'm complaining about the way the schedule is set up, this game is a good time for Indiana. And I've said that, I said that about the Ohio State game. I thought it was timed just right for Indiana. It was the second game of a 2-game homestand. They got to beat Northwestern, and then they got to play that Ohio State game, and they won, and everything worked out good for that. Then they had those 2 those 2 away games at Rutgers, at Nebraska. They didn't pull it off at Rutgers, as we're figuring out. That's a really difficult place to go in and play, but they were able to get that road win, and now they get to come back home. It'll be a great crowd. The students will be back. It'll be the first game back for all the students. It's an 8:30 game on Fox Sports. I mean, it's
you got Gus Johnson in the house, Bill Raftery.
Oh man, it's going to be a good one. It's
Dave Fife, Todd Leary.
Yeah, I don't know that last part of it makes any difference, but overall, I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a great atmosphere, and everything is set up for Indiana to play well in this game.
Tebow hit up the text line. What was that, Jake? Okay. Tebow hit us up on the text line, which is 812-269-6367. Said, so Finney guards Winston. Or who guards him, I guess. Yes, Finney does guard Winston. Archie says our defense is getting better every week. Does that carry us with wins for the rest of the season? I have noticed when one of our guys comes out to guard at the 3 line, when he releases, another one of Indiana's players gets on him and has helped to defend the 3-point line. We have not done that in earlier games. ?
Yeah, I mean, that seemed like one question, but there's like 80 different parts to that question.
Yeah, it was, I think, 3 different things.
Yeah, I got you. But Indiana changes the way that they defend ball screens, the way they defend guys switching. You know, like here's the difference. If Armand Franklin and Rob Finney's guys cross each other, in my world, I'd switch that, that you can guard whoever. I don't necessarily think they're going to say, Rob Finney, you guard Cassius Winston and don't ever leave him and don't let nobody else guards him. They'll switch it just like they normally do. These guys are all good defenders when it comes to that part of it, and you can guard them for one possession. I think switching it'll be the way to go with a lot of that. But Indiana will be changing defenses and how they handle the ball screens. Sometimes they'll trap it. Sometimes they'll play soft off of it. It'll just depend on who's coming off of it.
Yeah, Dr. J texted in earlier that must have been in the air. One of Illinois' players got ejected for flagrant true. Yeah, we talked about that. Alan Griffith, I think. Hey, what do you think his suspension ends up being? We talked about that Kansas stuff. He's going to get suspended too.
I don't know about that. I mean, he got kicked out of the game.
Guarantee you
he'll get one game at most if he gets anything else out of it. I mean,
I don't think it's going to be anything terrible, but he's definitely getting a game.
That's one that's different, though. That's a situation where he did something that's not really going to hurt anybody. I get it. It's just stupid. It was just completely stupid. And hopefully he can learn from it. He gets suspended a game here, and the rest of that game and one more game. I mean, that's something you can change your character and learn from.
And plus, that's even if it's for a game, 2 games, that's important because Illinois is having a season. They're fighting at the top, and I'm sure they'd rather have him than not have him.
Yeah, and he's been averaging for the last 4 games. He's averaged 12 points a game for their last 4 games, so he's been a big factor for him.
Not today.
They didn't need him last night.
Yeah, this is Dennis from Chandler, Arizona. He sent this in yesterday. Actually, it's not up. What's that? Oh, it's right. We got to go. I forgot. We got to get out. Hey, you got to stay on me, Jake. We got a lot more coming up on here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary. It's so much fun. I can't stop, man. Hey, we'll be back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary on this hump day, January 22nd. It is the day before game day. What else can it be?
Man, that intro or that acknowledgement from Michael Lewis, where he says former Indiana basketball player and current UCLA assistant, he sounds like the nicest guy. He just sounds like such a really nice, friendly guy, and he is not. That dude will punch you in the nose. Fast. He is the meanest, nastiest, scrappiest little cat. He'll punch you in the nose faster than anybody in the world. He just sounds so nice in that little clip he does.
He's the kind of guy that would yell at Bob Knight.
Yes, he that. And hey, everybody saw that one that was on TV. I'll bet you there was a lot more of those in practice.
Yeah, that's right. If you can get away with it on national TV, you can probably get away with it behind doors.
You know what? People would be surprised at how much back and forth there was. Yeah, it wasn't as now. Guys are also pretty smart to realize when you've got your back and forth, you better be right.
And that back and forth there's only so many backs.
There's a limit. There's a limit. That's when you kind of learn the lesson of it doesn't matter if I'm right. Sometimes it's not really worth the battle here. And sometimes in that case, you've got to give up the battle to win the war. And that happens more often than you think.
So it's kind of like the story you told about, I think it was you that was telling this story. It may have been, I don't know. I think it may have been Nover. No, it was Colin Hartman.
Just tell the story and I'll tell you who it was.
Colin Hartman. Talking about passing to the right guy. It was Pat Knight. Maybe it was you. That Pat Knight was the best passer on the team. I think.
It was me. It was me. It was me. We figured out, pretty early on that, once you get about 45 minutes to an hour into practice, all you really had to do was let Pat Knight throw a good pass and practice would be ended. And so I can't tell you how many of our practices ended with Pat Knight throwing an alley-oop pass to somebody. And it was, for some reason, the bad defense didn't get looked at on those plays. So we were creative. We came up with our own way to make things fun.
Dennis from Chandler, Arizona. I started to hit this text up earlier. Sorry, Dennis. He sent this in yesterday, actually. Which you can do so at any time, 812-269-6367. But this is not really up your alley because it's about social media. But how much do you think social media affects players, if any? Archie has talked about players being on their phones all of their spare time. I think this team does somewhat get affected. I see Deron Davis on Instagram all the time. I know these guys get on there and read. Now, whether it affects them or not, that's on their own. I mean, if it does, you shouldn't be on there. I saw the other day, I forget what team it was, but they have a self-imposed ban. They do not get on social media during basketball season, which I know that's a hard ask of a kid, but
that
almost
make you as a kid, almost make you want to get on it more. I mean, that's just kind of – it's just I get it. I mean, here's
I think it was no posting more than not getting on it.
Yeah, here's the thing that I can't relate to because we obviously didn't even have this. And it's a totally different world. I mean,
barely had cable. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we did not have email in college. I can just tell you that. That's how long ago it was. But it's a different world, and you know what? You've got to be different. But it's also not brand new to them. These kids have been dealing with this since they were in freshmen in high school. Look, most of these kids on here hosted a social media event when they chose what school they were going to. So they use it to their benefit as well. They know the pros and cons of it. They understand it. And like you said, if you can't deal with the negative side of it, you shouldn't be on it. And it's also can be used as a lesson for them. I mean, they can realize, everybody, you can play great and you have one bad game and all of a sudden everybody thinks you suck again. And, it's
oh no, we suck again.
It can work both ways. But I mean, I don't know that it's as big a factor as a lot of people give it credit for.
Dr. J says that must be why Justice Smith stopped shooting threes. He reads the social media posts.
No, because he would have stopped last year. Because I harped on it last year every game.
Tim says it's turning into after the game with Coyle Leary Thursday night. I'll be tuning into the game with Coyle Leary after Thursday night. Hope you guys have ready for Michigan State game red out. Oh, he wants you wearing red. He likes.
Is it a red out?
No. Well, is it? Yeah, I have no idea. But I don't wear. I generally don't wear school colors. I try to maintain my neutrality. That's why I don't wear IU things.
I do wear IU things, and I do wear red, so I will have red on.
So there you go. There you get that from that. See, another text. And Trey Stockton is always on Twitter. Yeah, these guys. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's normal society now. It's like making a phone call. It's like saying, "Oh, this kid's on the phone." Well, yeah, I mean, that's what people do, man.
Yeah, it is the way things are, and whether you like it or don't like it, you got to deal with it. And if they're gonna, that's one of the things. If you're going to be on it, you got to understand the positives and the negatives, and it's a life lesson you're going to need to learn anyway. So it can be used as a positive.
Absolutely, and that's just something else you're going to have to deal with.
Agree.
Josh texts in, how many coaches in the Big Ten would you take? Oh, I don't know if this was meant for the air, but if you were looking, to replace Archie Miller, how many coaches in the Big Ten would you take over Archie is the question in. There's only the answer to that to me is simply just one. I mean, who does not take one of the best coaches ever? I mean, other than that, I don't see, any difference here. It's across the board.
I mean, there's no one that stands out like that. I mean, heck, you can.
I think Fred Hoiberg is a great young coach.
I agree with you with that. I think in the long run, I think.
But I'm not saying Archie isn't. I'm just saying I think it's across the board. Nobody's standing out.
But here's my, here's what I love about our coach, and here's kind of a difference. So Fred Hoiberg is a good friend of mine. Okay, so I want to make sure that I say that ahead of time, so I'm not sounding like a crazy homer. But I would still rather have at Indiana. I would still rather have Archie Miller because Archie Miller, Indiana University's job to Archie Miller is a career destination. I think Archie Miller would be happy with saying he started it in whatever year at Indiana and he finished his career after 30 years at Indiana University. I don't necessarily know that Fred Hoiberg would look at it as a career destination job. I mean, he's been to the Bulls and he's worked in the NBA, and Fred's a different kind. Now, Fred will have enormous success no matter where he is. He's a player's coach. He'll get players in there, and they will be successful. But it's a different kind of success, and I want my Indiana coach. I don't want it to be a stepping stone job. I don't want him to be looking at potentially going to the NBA someday. And I don't think Archie Miller is. I think this is where Archie Miller wants to be for 30 years. And that gives him, that extra vote from my standpoint.
Hey, another great text into the show about, do other coaches talk to other teams about do's and don'ts after the incidents like Kansas and Kansas State brawl? I think that's a great point. I think that they will because of what we talked about.
What's the question? Do what?
Do other coaches talk to their teams about the do's and don'ts, about what happened in that? Sure. And I think actually that's a great point because of what's going to be the ramifications for this. This is going to greatly – I think this is going to greatly and adversely affect Kansas's season from here on out and their NCAA tournament run. I think their entire season has just been altered.
Totally agree. And now is the time. So, coaches are trying to make their basketball team better, for sure. They're trying to make the individual players better as players, but they're also trying to help them grow as young men. And I think a lot of coaches use this opportunity to teach, what did those specific two players that were involved in the most involved in the fight yesterday for Kansas, what they did to themselves is one thing, and they're going to get suspended, and who knows how long it's going to be, and it may be the entire season. But what they've also done is they have affected the other players that are on their team, the coaches and their families that are on that team. I mean, there could be, I'm not saying there's going to be, there could be significant ramifications. And I mean, Bill Self could get fired because of this.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I don't see it either, but it's possible. It could happen. If it was at a different institution, it's very possible that could happen.
You wear a gold chain in a record store with an Adidas shirt doing that. But he's good.
You get my point. Like, these players have got to understand their actions actually affect more than just themselves and their families. And the bad position they have put all the rest of their teammates in, they have let their teammates down. There's no other way to sugarcoat this and make it less of a big deal. They have let their teammates down, no question.
And it has to be treated as horribly as it is. They went into the freaking area of spectators.
Yeah.
Without regard.
Someone could have gotten look, those guys were huge. There's no whether they were my size or whether they were 6'10", like those guys that ended up flying into the stands and totally out of control, those were big people. If they land on an elderly lady or a small person, I mean, they could significantly hurt that person. I mean, there could have been criminal charges, and there may still be criminal charges. When you take the chair above your head, you have now gone to that's a criminal. That's a criminal offense.
Yeah, that's all kinds of stuff.
It's a criminal. I'm not joking, trying to over exaggerate it. That's a criminal offense. He had a weapon that he was using to try to hurt somebody.
There's.
I will not be surprised.
If this was in the public, if this had happened at some mall,
at a bar, yeah,
or a rolling rink or something like that, people would be going to jail.
Jake, please delete out the fact that he just said roller rink.
Hey man,
we just dated our show so much.
I'm talking about it being
the 1975.
I'm talking about it being as crazy as a different an area that you can imagine. People are going to jail, man.
He said roller rink.
I was trying to think of a skating rink, whatever you call it.
Oh, man.
But this brawl was if you really watch it. I mean, people are flying into other people that have nothing to do with this. And that's,
I agree.
If this had stayed on the court, it would have been bad, but it would have been seen as a sports fight. This went beyond it. This elevated itself till the Palace in the Malice, or Malice in the Palace, with the Pacers and the Pistons back in the day.
If it had stayed on the court, like you said, I think it would have been a single to multiple game suspension. Because it went into the stands, I think they're done for the year. I honestly think those two guys for Kansas are done for the year. And if they're not, I think the NCAA is setting themselves up for trouble because
those jackasses don't care. Muppet Mark Emmert and those morons. Kansas has got their number, man. They don't care what the NCAA thinks. Yeah. We got tons more coming up, man. Our good friend Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. There have been offers flying out the door for football, man. Tom Allen and his staff are all over the country. We'll talk about that here on Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Larry from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios as soon as we return. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, and you know what that means, the soothing sounds. The Dreamweaver, Matt Weaver from Peaks.com joins us. Matthew, how are you, brother?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
Great. It's been a busy week for you. Good Lord, the offers are flying out the door. Tom Allen and his staff, they're all over the place.
Yeah, it's that time of the year. It's they go out and start seeing. They've been seeing it, but this is the time of the year you start really going and checking in on 2000. Next class. The junior class. So in this case, it'll be 2021, and then also 2022 sophomore class guys, and start extending the offers. And like you said, definitely down in Florida, you got Coach Teagarden down there, Coach Hagan down there, new assistant Kevin Wright's down there, then Coach Hurd's down there. So they're hitting that state hard, and then other places too. Tennessee, Coach Jones, new assistant Jason Jones is down in Tennessee offering guys. So they are definitely busy extending an offers, I should say, plural. Many offers.
Of course, Indiana looking to parlay off of an appearance in the Gator Bowl in Florida and a season where they won 8 games and all that. And really, this is a recruiting class that I'd like to see, Matt, get some elevation, because they brought in some good players, obviously, over the last couple of years, some great recruits, but they're still always hovering in that 12th, 11th, 10th spot in the Big Ten, which I know it's tough to get up, but it's starting to time for them to really start elevating their recruiting.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think obviously, you would hope that the season you had on the field, where you win 8 games and go to a January 1st bowl game, kind of sparks that, and then I think the additions of Jason Jones and Kevin Wright are going to help with that too. I think these guys have some connections, and obviously Kevin Wright with his time at IMG and down there in Florida, and then Jason Jones and his different places he's worked at. Could really help with that as well. So, this is going to be a class where rating-wise it may be tough to jump up a bunch, this 21 class, because the next year's, this upcoming team senior class, there's only about 10 guys. And I think it'll obviously get bigger than that with probably some attrition, but it's probably going to be another smaller class. And obviously smaller classes doesn't help your rating because it's based on accumulated points, and the more commits you have, the more points you can get. So, but I'd like to see him maybe get some more 4-star guys, start getting some more of those guys. And not that necessarily means they're going to be great players, but, it would be nice to kind of have that good PR that you're starting to recruit and beat some of the big boys and when it comes to those kind of players.
Yeah, Matt, for the folks that don't know, Kevin Wright from IMG Academy, but originally from Indiana. And so that gives them a coach that has connections both within the state and the state of Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, IMG's big time. Like I said, it's almost not like a high school. It's almost like the way it's run. It's almost like a college program. I mean, guys leave wherever they're from and go and move down there. And it's not, it's kind of like a prep school, but it's a 4-year, you can go down there at any time of your high school career. And obviously his connections at Carmel and Warren Central in the state of Indiana are deep. And, everybody knows who his dad is, Larry Budd. If you follow Indiana high school football, Larry Budd right at Sheridan just won just a ton of games, all-time wins leader in the state. And great coach. And Kevin Wright's had a really fine career. And it'd be really exciting to see what he can do, not only down there in Florida, but wherever else they put him, obviously in state as well in recruiting. And then obviously I think Jason Jones is the guy. I know everybody's talking about Kevin Wright, and rightfully so, but Jason Jones is the guy that really intrigues me. He's been at some really good programs and recruited some good players, and he's got ties in Florida and in the South. So I'm really interested to see what he does as far as a recruiter as well.
Hey, Matt, this is Todd. Hey, who's the biggest, or if there's 2 or 3, what are the biggest positions and players that we're extending offers out to right now?
Well, I don't know if there's one that's really standing out. I mean, you're always looking for linemen. I mean, it's just a hard that, on both sides of the ball, to me, it's the hardest position to recruit just because there's just not a ton of those guys. I mean, there's a lot more, 5'10", 5'11", 6-foot guys playing football than there are, 6'5", 6'6", and guys with 300 plus pounds are athletic and powerful and can move and all that. But this class, I think Indiana's gotten to a point where, there's not really one position where you're in dire need of getting guys. I mean, they've got a pretty balanced roster. Like I said, it's going to be a smaller class, but I think it's just kind of looking for a balance and 1 or 2 guys at every spot. I'd like to maybe get 3 or 4 linemen, O-linemen if you can. I don't know if you're going to have room for that many, but you'd like to have that every year where you're getting about 2 to 3, 4 O-linemen, 2 to 3 D linemen every year. So not really one spot that jumps out as a desperate need. It's just they're offering a bunch of guys. I've seen probably more linemen offered here the last couple of days on both sides of the ball than any other position, but that just may be kind of a coincidence. I'm not sure that's anything to read into that other than that's just the guys that are getting offers right now.
How much pressure, Matt, for these going into this next season for Tom Allen? He's, had to make some coaching changes, of course, to fill positions, and they've got to success. So now, and having the youngest trio in Power 5 football, I believe, the head coach and his 2 coordinators, there's going to be some pressure on these guys to maintain what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I think so. And then, the schedule also kind of sets up, for a season that could get off to a fast start. I mean, obviously at Wisconsin to start the year is not going to be easy, but then you look, I think it's the next 6 games. Those are all really winnable games. And then, you get Penn State at home. You've shown you can play with them. You get Illinois at home. You get Purdue at home. So, you got a chance to match what you've done this year as far as wins and, kind of keep that mojo going. So, I mean, I think a bowl game is crucial. I mean, and You'd really like to try to get to where you were this year. I mean, worst case scenario, you go 6-6. I mean, that's probably be a step back in some people's eyes, but I think you got to keep the bowl game momentum going and try to get a streak going here where you go to like 4 or 5 in a row and really get it rocking and rolling. It's in Indiana. There's always going to be somewhat of a ceiling just because of the tradition and or lack thereof, and you're always, and then obviously in the division you're in. I mean, you're always going to be playing catch up to Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, but you need to stay ahead of, or at least on the same footing with, like a Michigan State, a Maryland, Rutgers. You need to stay ahead of those schools. And on the other side, Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois, you can't fall back behind those schools. So I think it's really important that you, build on the success and continue it next year and the years beyond that.
Josh texts into the show, says that in looking at the recruiting services, it seems that there's many underwhelming classes in the Big Ten right now. Not just Indiana. Iowa has only 5 commits, none in the top 250. Is that just because it's just early?
Is he? I'm assuming, is he talking about 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's early. I mean, Indiana is not, some schools get, the big programs. I mean, you'll probably look at like an Alabama or Ohio State. They probably got half dozen or so commits already, maybe more. I mean, that's just how those, that the school kids are committing to a helmet or to a tradition, and that's fine. I mean, there's, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they want to do. But for an Indiana, where it's more about building relationships, where that's really the key component in recruiting, it's going to take a little bit longer. Now, you may see a guy or two here in the spring, March or April, and that most likely would be an in-state guy that would pop. And then, when they get to June and start bringing some guys in for official visits and camp season really ramps up, that's where you start to make some hay. But like I said, this is going to be a smaller class, so they can afford to be picky. And I would look for them to be really picky in this class just because, like I said, it's going to be – I mean, it may be a class of 15. It may go beyond that, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's only about 15 guys, which is a small class. Attrition can change that, but they just don't have a lot of spots on their roster right now for the 21 class. So I think you'll see them be really picky when it comes to taking commits.
When is spring ball?
I think it'll start. It's always the way they've done it the last few years. Remember, they do like 3 or 4 practices. Like they go, like they start on a Saturday, go like Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, the week before spring break. And I think if that's the case this year, I think the first practice would be around March 7th. I think that's a Saturday. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's March 6th or 7th is a Saturday. So if it's the 7th, I think they go like 7, 8, and then like what was it? I'm trying to do my math here. 9 and 11. And then they take off a week for spring break and come back and do the last, 10 practices plus a spring game after spring break. So I think it's going to start right around that first week, the end of that first week of March.
Crazy. Still be in the middle of college basketball.
Yeah.
Matthew, I appreciate you, brother. I hope everything's going well and you have a great rest of the week.
You too, guys. Take care. Thanks so much.
Matt Weaver from Peegs.com, our good friend of the show here, talking about all the comings and goings of the Indiana football program right now. And there are many offers flying about. The guys are out on the road recruiting and things are going on. So lots to get to. We got more to get to here as well. Ron sent in a text from Scottsdale, Arizona, Todd. I think the Kansas State punishment should be that Bill Self and Bruce Weber strap on skates and fight it out in the roller rink like men.
Ron,
smart asses, all of you.
Without us even knowing him, he just told us that he's 60-plus years old.
No, I think he's laughing at me. But, yeah, we got a lot more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary. Well, we don't have to break yet, do we? Nah, we don't have to break yet. Just false start. But, yeah, Indiana basketball takes on Michigan State tomorrow night. We've been talking about that. The Illini put it on Purdue on the road last night. Not only did they get a road win in the Big Ten, which has been rare up to now, they were convincing, 79-62. They did have a player step on a guy that's going to be suspended, and that's going to cost them. So that could have an effect on their season as they go forward, although I don't think it's going to be much. Nothing similar to that we saw in Kansas last night. That's still, man, I'm telling you, if people really watch that video, that thing is stunning because of where it went. But yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see I think a lot of people will to see what if that weren't Kansas. Like I really feel like everybody thinks that I feel the same way about Louisville, to be honest with you. Like I feel like Kansas and Louisville have skated past some really bad punishment they could have gotten off of their violations, and because it's Kansas, I'm really interested to see how it's handled.
Yeah, Dr. J says Bill Self is in deep crap. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Text into the show. Does Tevin Coleman get another Super Bowl ring for a former Hoosier? I think Nate Setfeld was the last one to get a ring with the Eagles. Yes, he was. Tevin Coleman should have one with the Falcons because they coughed up a 28-3 halftime lead over the Patriots 2 years ago. But, let's see.
Who you got in the Super Bowl? Who you like in this?
Man, there is no way in hell. I'd love to see Tevin Coleman get one. But there is no way in hell I would bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I
not right
I
now. I just think that they're unbeatable. No one's unbeatable. But I think they're rolling. Of course, everyone's got a plan to get hit in the mouth. And so until the game's played – these guys are professionals. I mean, San Francisco, they're in the Super Bowl, and they're in the Super Bowl for a reason because they're pretty damn good. So am I going to be shocked that they beat Kansas City? No. But I just think Kansas City, because how well they've been playing, how well Patrick Mahomes, he just is in large and in charge of that offense. He just is so unflappable. And that's the thing that why they're so successful. Besides his talent, he's unflappable. The guy just got confidence oozing out of him, and it doesn't matter what the situation is. And it's like nothing bothers him, man. He's just like a cool cat.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, it's a good story. It's good to be able to write about the fact that he's come back twice in the last two games. I mean, being down, 24-0 in 2 games ago and down 10-0 against the Titans. You don't want to dig that hole too many times. You don't want to have to pull a rabbit out of a hat too many times. And I think this is a game, especially because they've showed the ability to run the ball, obviously, in the last game in San Francisco. I don't think this is a game he wants to fall behind, even 10-0 in again. I think, if I was Patrick Mahomes or if I was Kansas City and we won the coin toss, I would take the ball. I would try to go down the field and score right away. I would try to play from out in front. I would try to make Jimmy Garoppolo have to make plays, which I think I'm not a Jimmy Garoppolo hater. I think he's so underrated and undervalued in what he does for that team. And but I would try to, if you're going to beat them, I would try to make it happen through Jimmy Garoppolo, and playing from behind is not, I would not say, is San Francisco's strength. If they're able to jump out to a lead, I think it's going to turn into a let's see you stop the run type of game.
Kentucky beat Georgia last night. Did you see that game?
I did not. I followed the score, but I didn't see anything.
There's a lady standing directly behind the Georgia bench on the first row in Rupp Arena amidst a sea of blue in a bright red Indiana shirt.
Really?
And I'm like looking at her, I'm like going, that lady looks kind of familiar. And I posted that on Twitter, and a guy texted, said that he went to Bloomington North High School with her.
Really? Well, good for
I
her.
assumed. I thought it was just a UK fan trolling Tom Crean, but I don't think it is. I think it's an IU fan. It's a Tom Crean fan that somehow got first row seat right behind the bench because she does look familiar. I don't know her, but I mean, I think I've seen her in Bloomington maybe.
Yeah, well, if she doesn't know someone pretty high up, I'm going to say she doesn't get those seats again.
I'm saying she must know somebody high up to have gotten those seats. It's amazing. Man, it's crazy. We got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary. We're going to finish out the show. We got some Big Ten games tonight to talk about in Indiana. Prepares to take on the Michigan State Spartans tomorrow night. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily, Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former IU basketball player Derek Elson. Follow the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Change your average.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Larry with you, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Wednesday. It's January 22nd. We're in the middle of the week. Some Big Ten game. The Big Ten is really spread out now, Todd, because they want a Big Ten game on every night if they can, of course, to make money. So there's usually not a huge slate of games unless it comes to the weekend. They really kind of divvy them up Tuesday night,
right?
Wednesday night, Thursday nights, and Friday nights. Tonight we've got Penn State at Michigan, and this could be a pretty good game here. You know, Penn State, one of the surprising teams of the Big Ten, having a good season. Michigan, a little bit of a surprise for a minute. Then they've kind of come back to reality. These teams seem kind of evenly matched. Of course, Michigan's going to be at home, but this should be the game of the night in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Michigan team that, like you said, got off to such a hot start, and the injury to Isaiah Livers has set them back just a little bit, and not just from a wins and loss perspective, from a team growth development standpoint. And I don't think he's still played up to this point, and don't know if he'll play again tonight. But Penn State, man, I tell you what, they're good. Like, it's not. This is not Penn State like having some fluke wins and things like that. They're 13-5 on the year, and they are good. And they're good. The way that they're good, it travels, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're only going to win their home games. This is going to be a very tough game for Michigan, even though it's at home. Penn State's got some veteran players that are very good with the ball. Stevens is just one of the best players in the Big Ten, and they can score and they can defend and they play hard. So that's a tough one.
Yep, we'll see how. And it's no skin off Penn State's nose if they lose that game. That's a game they're supposed to lose, like any team in the Big Ten. But again, a team that's trying to make a move. That's an opportunity. It's all it is an opportunity. It's not. It's like playing with house money.
This is unless something crazy would happen with Penn State for the remainder of the season, like 8 or 10 losses in a row. I mean, they're going to make the NCAA tournament. This game for them is a lot like what I said about the game is for Indiana. I mean, this game at Michigan is a resume builder. It's a improve your seed type of game if you can win. Now, they're not really expected to win at the end of the year. I don't think they're going to look back and say, well, Penn State got a 9 seed because they lost at Michigan. That's not going to be the case, but it's definitely one they'll talk about if they're saying Penn State got a 6 seed because one of their big wins was at Michigan, and we had to put them above Michigan in the rankings, in the brackets, because, they won both games against Michigan, and that would be a big deal.
Absolutely. The other game tonight, another game that actually this could be a hell of a game, to be honest about it. Rutgers travels to Iowa. You've got a Rutgers team, another team that has been an upstart team this season. You got Iowa, they're struggling. They were Rutgers last year. They were kind of an upstart, but they haven't really. They've been spinning their wheels. Iowa's not really gotten any traction. And they're at home tonight. This is a must-win game to me for an Iowa team.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Iowa is one of my favorite teams to watch play in all college basketball because as we talk about – what's that?
They definitely represent their coach.
Well, if we talk about, it's like who's the sexier team in the Super Bowl? Kansas City is because they're off. They score a lot of points. And in college basketball, one of the struggles we've talked about, not just in the Big Ten, not just with this Indiana team, but throughout the whole country, is scoring the basketball. And that's not Iowa, because Iowa's got one of the best scoring big men inside. And they've got 4 guys who can stand out on the three-point line and knock it down with the best of them. And they struggle to defend. I mean, they don't play that great a defense. They've gone back and forth between playing zones, and they're trying to outscore you. And that's a fun brand of basketball to watch. And they've got a bunch of guys that can score and make shots. They're a fun team to watch play. If you've not watched Iowa play all year, they're a fun team to watch. Doesn't mean they're a great team, but they're a fun team to watch play because they can really shoot the basketball.
Yeah, and they're going to play tough, so it's going to be.
What do you talk about when you talk about Rutgers? I mean, their defense is so good, and when you talk about Iowa, you talk about their offense is really good. So this is truly a battle of offense versus defense tonight.
Yeah, the Ken Pom rankings. There are 14 teams in the Big Ten Conference. All 12 Big Ten teams are in the Ken Pom top 40, I think.
Really?
Or maybe 50. It may be top 50. But 12, your entire freaking conference is in the Ken Pom top 50.
Yeah. I mean,
you talk about every one of these Big Ten teams is going to have a great strength of schedule.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they really are. It's really going to come down to, kind of what I said this from the beginning of the year. And, who catches the right team on the right night? Somebody, I really believe this is true. Somebody is going to go into Michigan State and win. And I think Michigan State's the best team in the league, but I think they've got some weaknesses and they don't score that well. Could Illinois go into Michigan State and win? I think they probably could. But I also thought if you got Michigan on the right night where they were making shots, I thought they could have a chance. And Michigan dismantled Michigan State when they play there. Iowa could go in anybody's arena in the entire league and win. I mean, Iowa does not come to Indiana. Indiana does not go to Iowa. So that's one of the games that Indiana, I think, benefits from on their schedule. But Iowa coming in here to Assembly Hall. I mean, Indiana plays them February 13th. That'll be another Thursday night game for Indiana. So hopefully the fans will show up and be big involvement in that. But Iowa can go anywhere in the Big Ten and win because they have the ability to score the ball.
Yeah, and you talked about the crowd the other night, or just earlier, about the students being back. First time students are back.
Yeah.
And, man, what a game. Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You think this environment's like Fox Sports Gus Johnson, Bill Raftery. You think this thing's not going to be electric? It's going to be big time.
Oh, it'll be a great environment. That part of it we won't have to worry about. All we've got to worry about is Indiana, getting off to a decent start and giving the crowd something to cheer about. I'll tell you right now, Tim will love me talking about this. Is last night, I don't think there could have been a better environment to start that Purdue game. Like, it was their first game back for their students. That place was so loud on TV. The commentators just continually talked about it. And Illinois smacked them right in the mouth and took them out of the game. And the crowd, you never heard them talk about it again because they were trying to figure out something to cheer about. They just couldn't.
Tony Bennett from Virginia was at Silver Creek yesterday watching Trey Kaufman.
Well, I'll tell you what.
The 6'8" kid from Silver Creek that I think is actually the second best player on his team.
How do you think that conversation goes? Hey, we would love for you to come play at Virginia and average 4 points a game. I mean, how he could recruit, and I think he's a great coach. I really do. But I cannot believe he hasn't adjusted his system. He needs to go visit with Nick Saban down in Alabama and let Nick Saban explain to him how Nick Saban basically had to change his entire system to let Tua turn into Tua and run an offense that's totally different than what he's done in the past, because Tony Bennett is not going to be able to recruit anyone to come there and play and be the leading scorer on the team and average 7 points a game.
Yeah, do you imagine it's difficult for Tony Bennett to come to that realization after winning a national championship?
If he's not learning, he's going to go from winning a national championship to not making the NCAA tournament. If that doesn't make you realize you got to make some changes, I'd be surprised. And I love Tony Bennett. Watching that team last year, what he had assembled, getting Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome and those guys to come to play in that system, kind of changed their games. But those guys were so good offensively, they could still score points. They don't have that anymore. I mean, Diakite is by far the best offensive player they have, and he's a big guy. He can't do it on his own. He's got to have somebody feeding him the ball.
Christian Lander and Evansville Rights will be in New Albany on Friday night. A little more prep action there. Christian Lander, he's not having the season I think that a lot of us expected of him, which that's not on him as much as it is on those creating the expectations maybe, but not sure that they're having the season that a lot of people thought that they would have.
Yeah, high school basketball is just a different animal. It's the coaching and philosophies of everything have so much more to do with it. And if you're not out there running up and down the floor and scoring, 28 points a game and people don't look at it like you're having the season you should have. And, I watched them play against Carmel, and Carmel is not a team that scores the ball very well. And, they kind of had their way with Evansville Rights and that team. I don't base Christian Lander's year based on, what he scores with his team. I honestly, in the limited 2 times I've seen him play, he's not selfish enough, which is a good quality to have. But he needs to be more selfish, and he needs to shoot way more shots and have the ball in his hands way more than he does.
Yeah, it's probably better though to have him trying to push him in this direction than
without a doubt.
If it was reversed.
Without a doubt.
But
without a doubt,
looking forward to that. But the high school season is still in mid throes, man. We got a little bit. We're still a month or so or longer from the tournament starting, aren't we?
Isn't everybody else just playing to figure out how many Lawrence North wins the state by?
Dude, there was another kid. Who was that kid from Lawrence North I was just reading about this morning? I think he's a guard for them. Daggone it.
They are legit. They're
Dude, how many Division I kids are on that damn roster?
Yeah, there'll be a bunch. There'll be
seriously,
4 or 5.
It's nuts.
Yeah, there'll be 4 or 5.
Is this the best Lawrence North team in school history?
No.
I heard they were crappy in the 80s, but
yeah, they finished the 80s pretty strong.
Yeah. How good is this team seriously now compared to that 89 team?
Well, it's going to be really easy for me to say this because there is no way in the world they could have guarded Eric Montross. I mean,
it's pretty hard to guard a successful 7-footer.
It is.
It's pretty hard to guard a successful
It
7-footer.
is.
Because he wasn't just 7 foot. He was good.
And he was thick, and he was big and strong. It's not like he was a 7-footer that weighed, 195 pounds that you could push all over the place. He was big and strong, and he was one of those guys.
Mean.
You always had one of those friends where you played like pickup football out in the yard, and you could just ram him in the head, and he just didn't even flinch. Like he was just tough and strong. That's what Eric was. I mean, we would bang him as hard as we could, and it was almost like he was lurch and didn't even feel it. But I mean, I don't know how they could have defended him is what I'll say with that. Now, I'm saying that was the best Lawrence North team there ever was, but I think Greg Oden and Mike Conley might have a few things to say about that as well. Because
they were on Lawrence North.
They won 3 state championships in a row, 3 straight.
Yeah, but I didn't remember
seasons.
that they were on Lawrence North. I forgot about it. Oh wow.
Yeah.
God dang, they've had some
that
teams,
team.
man.
That team might be the best team that's ever played there.
How about the high school that's had Eric Montross, Todd Leary, Greg Oden, Mike Connolly Jr., and the freaking group they got now? God.
The funny part is you put my name into that because those other guys are all NBA millionaires. So I'm on that list because we won the state. But other than that, those guys are pretty much separated themselves in that category.
Apparently, Christian Lander had a decent game last out against Bedford North Lawrence. He had 5 3-pointers. That's good to see because he's a point guard.
Yeah, I mean,
so to see a guy that can shoot like that, that's a handy deal there.
He doesn't play point guard on his team very much. At least the game that you and I watched when we were at Southport when they played against Carmel, he didn't have the ball in his hands very much, and I was surprised about that. But when he's definitely got a great looking shot, and he's smooth as can be with the ball. I mean, he's a really, really good player. And when he gets he's one of those guys, and I'm saying this as positively as it can be meant, is he's a guy that's going to look like a much better player in an AAU game than he is in a high school controlled 32-minute walk down the floor paced game. And that's a good thing. I'm saying that positively because the rules of high school basketball just don't allow you to be creative, and it's nothing like it is in college basketball. AAU is much more like college basketball.
Tony Perkins is the kid's name I was trying to think of for Lawrence North.
Yeah, I mean they got a whole group of kids that are really, really good. I mean they beat a Lawrence Central team. They just beat them for the county tournament championship. They beat a Lawrence Central team twice. That Lawrence Central has a kid going to Louisville and a kid going to Kansas State. And the kid going to Kansas State, I can't remember his name, but
Nigel Pack.
He is legit. He's a good guard.
That's the point guard that Indiana should have gotten.
Man, he is good. He is good, and he doesn't get the credit. The other kid going to Louisville gets because he's taller. I lived this life too. Trust me. Eric Montross got all the attention because he was taller.
The kid going to Louisville's got a brother on that team too.
Yeah,
that will
that's
right. Also a D1 player.
Yeah, he will be eventually. He's a sophomore and he's not great, but he's decent. But this will be a kid that sneaks out of the state of Indiana. Not just Indiana missed out on him. Everybody missed out on him because he's going to Kansas State.
How does that happen? How the hell does that happen? Because he's way above playing at Kansas State as far as offers. There's not a team in this state that couldn't use him.
I'll tell you what he is. And this people who follow basketball and have followed it in the state of Indiana for a long time will understand what I'm saying by this. But he's a Purdue type guard. I'm shocked that Purdue didn't get him. If they went after him, I don't know if they offered him or didn't offer him. I don't know anything about his recruitment. But I can tell you he's a Purdue type guard. The only issue with him that I could see anybody say anything on is he's pretty short and he's under 6 feet tall. But he's strong and physical and athletic, and he can shoot, and he's great
in college,
with the ball.
I don't care if they are or not.
I agree with you. I don't. It doesn't matter to me at all. Like
Yogi Ferrell. Yogi Ferrell maybe is 6 foot. Maybe
he was not 6. They listed him at 6 foot. He was not 6 foot.
That's why I was maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that I don't.
He's a Purdue type guard. I'm shocked that he didn't end up at Purdue.
But two things shocked me about that. First of all, that he got away from Indiana, from Purdue, from Butler, from Notre Dame, from all these schools. Then he goes to freaking Kansas State.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. There's maybe something to that we don't know. Yeah, because
they're going to get suspended. He missed the fight last night.
Yeah, I mean that's not a coaching staff. Like Bruce Weber and that whole group out there. Like
he brings nothing.
I don't know what lured him to that.
He's a whiny ass crybaby. Oh well, man, it's been another fun day. Oh my gosh, this is getting to be too much fun.
Well, let's keep it rolling.
I like to do this. I like to do this
we get
every
good.
day.
We get people to have fights every night, and we get stuff to report on all the time. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it makes it a blast. Man, we got more coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow is what, Thursday? Dane Fife on the show tomorrow. Another great week. Then on Friday, don't forget, Clark Kellogg. Man, we're just loading it up. It just doesn't stop. It's going to keep on rolling. We're going to just keep having a lot of fun. Indiana, of course, playing Michigan State tomorrow night. Don't forget, After the Game with Todd Leary, coming to you live from Yogi's, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated of Bloomington. We'll be there and live and in color. That game tips off at 8:30, so it's going to be a late night one for us there at Yogi's. 10:30 is about when that show should start. But looking forward. This should be an electric game tomorrow. I'm excited and fired up for it, man.
Yep, me too. You know I love game days, and I won't sleep tonight. I'll be excited. Oh, something we didn't talk about all day today. The debut tonight of Zion. Zion's first NBA game tonight.
That's probably in line with the amount of care that I have about it.
Well, I'll tell you this. It'll be the first NBA game I've watched all year.
Is that right?
Yeah. I want to see
Who are they playing?
No idea. No clue.
Perfect. We're back tomorrow with plenty more. We appreciate everybody. Appreciate the texts. Keep them rolling. 812-269-6367. We're back tomorrow with plenty more. Thanks to Jake for keeping us on the track. Todd Leary, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.